Hello everyone and welcome back to Hephaestus Challenge Week number 1. Earlier today we saw Cake take on the Art of Warfare, win with a 5-0 victory, and now we are going to have Zill's Merry Men versus the combined forces of Holy and SPQR to form the Holy Roman Army. Of course, I am Imagine, and with me as my co-caster is once again Sir Morty.
Good evening, everybody.
So we are getting ready for this match number 2. Should start in a few minutes. Of course, Merry Men for me. It's my team. That is who I usually fly with. Him probably would have been, but you know we didn't actually expect to be participating in the Hephaestus Challenge at first. Had another extra week to sign up, which allowed us to get some extra members together, allowed us to get some practice in as well. But in the meantime, I took on casting duties, so instead I'm going to be watching my team members trying to battle it out against this Holy SPQR combination. Now, Morty, do you know if Holy and SPQR have flown together before?
I've seen them fly together a few times in public matches and in one or two limited experiences in, say, Friday Night Fights and things like that, and in the little thing that Cake used to run. They work pretty well together. They often, again, used to come out with very outlandish and silly things to do just for the fun of it. Like all harpoon mobulas for some reason and try and pull you into rocks, which never worked. But they were always fantastic fun to play with and a good bunch of players, really.
Absolutely. And of course, new member for Merry Men, Urs. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. Urs was a Merry Men member at first, and then when he went into doing a lot of tournament setups, he kind of got left behind. But he decided he wanted to fly, and so he is now flying as a second pilot for this Merry Men crew. Of course, Rear Admiral Zill. He's the head of Merry Men. Of course, it is technically Zill's Merry Men is the name of the team, so it is definitely his crew and. And, he's the one that yells at all of us when we're doing something horrible. But
he is best behavior then.
He is, of course, bringing a galleon on Duel at Dawn. And this should be quite interesting to see how it works out. Let's see what he's got on here. We've got one side with that Carronade and Hwacha. The other side with Lumberjack Hwacha. He's also got an Artemis on the side with that mortar in the back. That mortar, I think, is what he refers to as the lucky mortar. So yeah, I think we talked about this in our little practice casting yesterday, using that Artemis on the side, get some of that longer range shots going on to assist the lumberjack.
Indeed. The traditional thing to do normally with a galleon of that build is to have a pair of Hwachas and a Gatling gun on that side, but if you're planning to go mid to long range, it's always good to stick an Artemis up there.
Yep. Now, of course, this is a small map, so it is going to be, interesting to see how a galleon on a map as small as Duel at Dawn, and not to forget, Duel at Dawn does not have separate spawn locations once you've died. Now you spawn at other sides of the map, but from then on you can pick any spawn point. Unlike any other map, which each color has their own side, Duel at Dawn has no distinction, and so basically if you are fighting in a spawn location you die, you can spawn right back into that fight, and that can be a little bit of problematic for a galleon.
You can do the traditional spawn places on this map is normally that northwest corner where you've got free from all the terrain and a massive panoramic view of about 75% of the map. I think that's what they might be aiming for with that mid-range setup, probably sit out there and beat a few people.
Yep, so we'll definitely see how this turns out. Of course, I haven't seen much of Holy or SPQR together. Of course, I do know Thomas. He is quite a frequenter of the forums, and I believe Jub is as well. They make a lot of posts. Thomas has virtual thesis going on the forums about various things. He always includes a lot of numbers, and I get totally lost in them, but,
He's a little mathematical genius, really.
Yep,
If you
of
want
course
to
it
know
is.
the mathematical probabilities of pretty much anything in this game, he's thought of it, or at least thinking of it.
Yeah, that can be quite an asset to have that sort of thing going on. Of course, Zill, on the other hand, I think probably has some of the, if not the most, then definitely one of like the top 5 or top 10 of most amount of games played. I know he's been playing since original beta, so he's got a plethora of experience behind him.
He has. He's always very capable and very knowledgeable player.
All right, so we are getting readied on up here, just waiting for Urs to hit his button, or perhaps we will wait the full 30 seconds. We'll give you some loadouts as soon as we are in match. It should be quite interesting to see how this goes. You know what? I'm gonna call that this game is gonna go longer than our previous one.
I can only hope.
Of course, our previous one lasted about a whole 12 minutes. All right, so and then we have an unready from Thomas.
It appears that Holy isn't ready at the minute.
Yep, we do have about another 45 seconds to go before some bad stuff starts to happen with timers and all that.
I see what happened. Their allies changed their loadout, so I think they're just probably rotating ammunitions to complement their allies as best they can.
Fair enough, fair enough. All right, so here we go. Getting into match number 2 of today in Hephaestus Challenge. This is, of course, Anvil Division once more, and let me change these titles once again. This is Holy Roman Army, and on the red side we are going to have the Merry Men. Alright, so getting that settled, we are once again on Duel at Dawn. Let's give a quick rundown of ships, because there's going to be fighting really quickly here on the Battle Jesus, captained by Urs. We've got Gatling mortar on the front with double Artemis on the side, and on the then it was rebuilt Rear Admiral Zill ship. We got that Lumberjack watch on one side, assisted by that Artemis with a mortar in the back and a Carronade watcher on the other side.
We have the Madness flown by Holy Master Commander Thomas. He has the tried and true meta junker build out of 3 Artemises on the port side and a brawling setup on the starboard side of Gatling gun and mortar. Now we have a slight change just before the match started of the RS Vulcan flown by Jub Jub. He had initially the same strange power build that we saw with Cake earlier today, the Carronade flamethrower, but he has rotated that out for an Artemis Hades fireball launcher cannon instead, to try and turn this into a fairly long-range disabling match against that heavy galleon.
Yep, absolutely. Of course, that Artemis is going to do wonders against those heavy guns. We've got a lot of Artemis coming from both of these holy ships, and then it was rebuilt. It's been getting peppered the entire time. But that Lumberjack shots have taken out the Vulcan's balloon, and they are going to start falling down. Then it was rebuilt. Did take some permanent damage there, as well as the Battle Jesus, who has lost a couple of engines. And it's, those Artemis going to town on those components.
Artemis at the moment are the most tried and true effective guns you can get. You simply just point and squeeze the trigger.
Yeah, of course they were changed a little bit. They were super effective for a while, and then it was changed a little bit, so it is a bit harder to aim now. But once you get yourself set in a non-moving position, it's really point and click for most of it.
Pretty much, especially bringing burst ammunition, spread that explosion out. Even if you're not pinpoint accurate, it's still going to do the majority of its damage to a target.
Oh, Battle Jesus finally getting up onto the Madness. Urs going on the attack here, as then it was rebuilt, is now falling behind Battle Jesus. Going to be taking some shots in return. Those Hades mostly missing there, which is not going to do very well. Madness did get his balloon taken out, and here comes a ram from Urs right into the side of Madness, continuing to bounce him around, taking down that hull. But Battle Jesus is in a bit of a problem here. Many components disabled.
They've lost pretty much all their engines. If they've been able to turn around and and focus on the enemy he could have done. But unfortunately, they've appeared on the short side of Madness.
And now Battle Jesus is just dead in the water here. No engine. And oh my god, he got his armor back up just in time. Not sure how long that's going to be able to last, though, as that Gatling is going to strip the last of that hull, and Battle Jesus will be the... Oh my. I'm once again getting ahead of myself here, as they barely managed to get behind these ribs. I still think they're about to go down as the first...
Well, they haven't got that balloon yet, so they've got a pretty big splat to go just yet. Yep. So we may see them grind to a halt.
Yeah, there we go. So Battle Jesus is indeed the first casualty, and then he was rebuilt. May have made a little bit of a mistake here, as he is getting ahead of himself, coming out here, trying to take down the Madness a little bit. Vulcan did have to get down into the ribs to finish the Battle Jesus off, so then he was rebuilt. Moving forward is not going to be in a 2v1. And now Battle Jesus spawning behind the Vulcan. Vulcan should know that there's going to be some shenanigans going on. And oh no, look at those lumberjack shots going down into between the hull and the balloon. In the meantime, Vulcan and Battle Jesus at it here.
It seems to have split down into a pair of long-range duels and a pair of short-range duels. It appears, though, that the then it was rebuilt is trying to move in on the RS Vulcan just to assist their teammates.
Yep, and Madness, of course, trying to follow behind here, but RAS Vulcan has got to be careful here as a charging galleon, and I'll tell you right now, Zill is not afraid to charge with the galleon. He will ram and try to get you off your arcs, whatever he can do to win. Zill would try to do.
Seems like he is pressing those engines pretty hard. I've not seen a galleon shift that quickly in a very long time.
Yeah, Battle Jesus gets his armor knocked out in the meantime, and those Artemis shots coming in, doing some of that permanent damage. But next set of shots going into the side of the... Oh no, I think the Battle Jesus actually just got stuck on the side here, Velcroed a little bit, and with Madness coming up behind him, this is an awful place for Urs to have gotten his ship stuck in. This could end up very, very terribly here. Battle Jesus is gonna get taken down there. What an unfortunate spot to get stuck in.
That is a very unfortunate spot. For those of you that don't know, whenever you do fly past the edge of the map on this game, you do get pushed backwards onto terrain, which may what have happened there, and there may also have been the small bugs which happen quite regularly early game and mainly early beta, where for some reason the term Velcroing came from. We literally just stick to a wall.
Yep.
For no reason. You want to give it a hug.
In the meantime, there's some nice lumberjack shots going on to Madness. Taking his balloon out, continuing to rain on down, and that can get a little bit of trouble. Battle Jesus, of course, spawned right back into this fight. As we discussed before, you can spawn pretty much anywhere you want on this map. And Madness is starting to bounce a little bit on this terrain here. Got to be careful here. As nice watch a shot there from Two Left Socks, taking out quite a lot of components. But in the meantime, RAS Vulcan is now using that Artemis to take out this heavy guns of this galleon once more.
Yeah, Madness itself has retreated behind terrain just to get that little bit of respite before they come back to the long-range side, seeing that they can cover the Vulcan with their balloon. But they didn't get there in time to block that Hawacha fire.
Yeah, Vulcan has his balloon down, all of his guns down, still has his engines, thankfully, and now Battle Jesus trying to use his side Artemis to pepper the Madness with, as RAS Vulcan now gets his Watcher back up. Madness losing his balloon once more, and this is the game that Zill and Urs wanted to play. This is what they wanted to get set up on, using those long-range sides, and then maybe the Battle Jesus swinging around when they have to, keeping those other two ships repressed and you know, scrambling to fix their balloon over and over again.
Yeah, it's a very good idea, but the only downside flaw to that idea is that there is so much terrain that the RS Vulcan and the Madness can just duck away for a minute 30 seconds and get a bit more repairs in, get yourself sorted back out again, get everything chem sprayed and back to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course we do have a time limit on these games of 30 minutes, and once those 30 minutes are up, whoever is ahead will win the match and most kills. And if both teams have the same amount of kills, well, then it's a tie. We actually do have ties in this system. So we'll see if that actually comes into play at some point during this season. I'm betting it probably will. Once again, Urs and Zill going after the Vulcan here, and unfortunately a lot of those lumberjack shots are starting to miss, and Hades is not. And oh no, continuing to miss with those heavy guns, and that's not going to get things done.
Unfortunately not. Now
Alright.
let's see what we have here.
Lumberjacks did hit enough to knock out the Vulcan's balloon once more, but now the Madness is moving back on in here once again.
It seems like they're trying to focus on the den it was rebuilt, just to see if they can keep that Lumberjack down, because that Lumberjack seems to be in the ace of the whole for Merry Men at the moment, pinning ships down and stopping them from regrouping, really. Mainly that Paramidian suffering from it with his large frontal envelope.
Yep, is doing a decent job of blocking shots here, at least trying to block as many as he can. Madness losing his balloon once more. Now, it's not a bad idea to try to knock out balloons on this map. Getting down into terrain is fantastic, but the problem is that with these ships flying as high as they are and with no real follow-up once that balloon gets knocked down, it's just not quite going to be enough. You do have to have at least, if nothing else, some ship rams coming on in. And now Vulcan getting a little fancy here, going around into the wreckage here and using cover to block shots from coming back in.
Yeah, they're using the markers to see whether or not they can creep around and get little holes to fire through little firing points instead of trading shots around the large arc.
Yep, and both Vulcan and Madness have taken this now, pouncing on this opportunity as quick as they can. Then he was rebuilt. Gonna try to move on out of here. He does have some terrain that he can use to block stuff himself. Backing on up. The problem with the Galleon, it's not exactly maneuverable, and you can't quite juke as much as you can with some other ships, and basically all the guns on this Galleon are down once again, and now Battle Jesus is taking some fire.
Battle Jesus has dropped down now, looked like they lost their balloon for a brief amount of time. Just a little scrape against terrain, but nothing to worry yourself about, really, nothing to worry the crew over.
Yep, some return Lumberjack fire did go down on Madness, and watch a shot going straight into that rib there, hitting basically nothing. Madness still at very low balloon. Battle Jesus, however, getting peppered by Hades and Artemis on the side here. Does have to be careful as there is some terrain there. And wow, nice shooting by the Vulcan, taking the Battle Jesus down once again, and Merry Men are having a tough time so far in this match.
The Vulcan was quite clever there. Just wear them down, then sneak in through that hole to make it easier for the Hades to hit just underneath that cloud cover.
Yep. Zill, I know, likes this war of attrition. But so far, this war of attrition is definitely going Holy Roman Army's way. And of course, they are not quite out of it yet. I have seen entirely way too many comebacks from 3-0, 4-0 to ever call a match, but this is going to go in increasing difficulty for the Merry Men here, as they really haven't been able to accomplish all that much. Neither Holy Roman Army has, I don't think they've ever even dropped their armor fully.
Yeah, it's roughly the same for either side. The Madness has just got a very slight scar on its armor, but apart from that, nothing much really. I think the thing that didn't really help the Merry Men was the fact that they were over such a high piece of terrain by the end of it. Meanwhile, when the Vulcan or the Madness got their balloons burst, they had a long way to fall and plenty of time to fix it.
Oh my God, Zill is taking a huge risk here. He's going to try to slam into the Madness, and Madness just jukes right out of it, and Zill is going to continue going. Gonna try to duck behind a rib here or something, but turn his backside to both of these ships, and that is just absolute death there. Battle Jesus is gonna come and try to help, maybe do something, but then he was rebuilt. Hurting quite a lot here. There we go. There's some gap, but Battle Jesus has overshot the Vulcan, which had started backing up there, and now gonna start firing on the Madness itself. Madness returning some of that Gatling fire. Both of these ships now focused on the Battle Jesus, and at least the Holy Roman Army has been very good at making these snap decisions on switching to what to target fire.
They seem to be hitting the target which has the most killing power at any one time, really. They've disabled the Galleon, and they know it's going to take the Galleon longer to get to them. Then, oh, he's gone.
And yep, Battle Jesus going down once again, and with Zill, such low hull and such low permanent damage. Still gonna try to make the most of this, never give up, never surrender, but it is looking more and more dire here for the Merry Men, as this Galleon is now sitting over a little bit of terrain here, and those Artemis is gonna come on in and just absolutely disable everything that Hades is going to slam into the side of this galleon
this
here.
is a very bad position for Admiral Zill.
Yep, Battle Jesus desperately going to try to come on in here, maybe try to get the Vulcan. Does get that Gatling on him, so maybe a start of something, but then he was rebuilt. Oh, one more hit will do it, and there he goes.
Oh, there he go.
For a 5-0 victory for the Holy Roman Army, and that was just a very... you know what? I don't think Merryman ever got into a comfortable position that entire match.
Unfortunately not, but I'll go on record as saying that was a very strange set of ship builds all around for this very small map. Normally you don't see a lot of long-range dueling here. You see that on Duel at Dawn, Battle of the Dunes, Duel at Dawn, and just the larger maps in general. But it worked. It seemed to work very well for the smaller, more maneuverable ships.
Absolutely. So, you know, good job there by the Holy Roman Army. Merrymen are probably going to have to go back a little bit to the drawing board. I'm not entirely sure that that was the optimal set of ships to take on a map like Duel at Dawn, small, you know, close quarters, and definitely didn't work out the way that they wanted to. So tough break for them there, but you know, once again, this isn't over. This is, you know, it's a season.
This is only week one.
It's you are going to be playing 7 games minimally. You lose the first one, you win the next 6. You know, who knows? You win the first one, lose the next 6. You know, these are definitely things that can happen. But Merryman are definitely going to have to take a look at what happened in this match and you know, adjust maybe a little bit of strategies going forward.
It'll be interesting to see whether or not the Holy Roman Army as well stick with that same mixed system of abnormal long range and standard short range ships. I'd quite like to see whether or not the builds stay the same or the builds change, whether or not people look at the streams, look at the information and see what other players have used and see whether or not they feel comfortable using their status quo.
Quite so, and you know, one question I do have for you is, we've seen a lot of, you know, Hades Artemis, and there on that junker we saw double Artemis. Am I right?
It was actually a triple Artemis.
Yeah, well, double Artemis on one side. So, do you think they took that specifically to counteract the Galleon, or do you think that they just like having that triple Artemis all the time, rather than a Hades Artemis, as which has become more of the norm?
Well, I haven't seen them run that ship very much myself, but the standard meta for the junkering competitive play used to be triple Artemis. Now in the most recent patch that the Hades flak cannon fire damage has taken a buff, you've now folks have realized that as well as disabling engines and weapons, you can also take down balloons and get a nice bit of crash damage on somebody. So I think realistically that they might have just stuck to their guns and it's worked out well for them this time. I'd like to see whether or not they keep the same next week. If they stay on the same map next week, will they change to something else? Or if they move to a different map, will they adapt a little more? Will they try and get that Hades in after seeing other players use it?
Absolutely. And Merrymen, you know, we'll see if they keep with the same build. I know, you know, that's a lot of stuff that they have to think about going and taking a look at this match as well. Alright, so once again, that was a fairly quick game, about 15 minutes or so, and so we're going to have another little bit of downtime here. We'll put some music back on, and our next match will be Sky Invading Rhinos against Sacrilege, and that will be our last match of the day. Of course, Black Flight Squadron from the Anvil Division will be facing against, I believe, Overwatch of the Hammer Division, which you will be able to see on the other stream at the Rob and Dan Show. Of course, once again, you can also watch the split link here at the link provided, and that will show both of the streams that are going on right now. I'm not entirely sure if the other match is still going on, but I believe they have been showing some stuff in between matches as well. As for us here, we're going to be going on a little bit of a short break here, about 30 minutes or so, you know, maybe a little bit less. We'll come back in about 20, I think, and get talking about the next match. So stay tuned. It will be Sky Invading Rhinos versus Sacrilege. Of course, once again, I am Imagine. With me today is Sir Morty. So do stick around and come back in about 20 minutes or so.
See you soon, everybody.